and welcome to SRIRAM's IES. In this video, we are going to discuss one of the most important topics of Indian economy, that is Index of Industrial Production. Now, this topic is not only relevant for your prelims but also for your mains because industry से हर साल UPSC mains में एक question पूछ ही लेता है. अगर हर साल नहीं पूछे तो alternate years पे तो पूछ ही लेता है. क्यों? Because industrial growth is something which derives our economy. Manufacturing has been always the prominent place where government of India has been focusing on. Economic surveys across the history have always suggested that India's manufacturing sector share in the final GDP should be increasing. Now, in this trend, we should also witness that the index of industrial production this time has witnessed a 23-month high. Now, understand what does this mean and what actually differentiates this IIP from the index of core industries. We need to discuss all of this. Who releases this index of industrial production? What's the frequency of the releasing? How the weights and measures are actually calculated? And the most important point, which sectors are actually now driving the growth of India? कौन से सेक्टर्स में ज्यादा ग्रोथ हो रही है जिसकी वजह से इंडियन इकोनॉमी ग्रो कर रही है? दैट इज द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट विच वी आर गोइंग टू डिस्कस. नाउ लेट्स अंडरस्टैंड द न्यूज विच वी आर taking right now is from the Hindu newspaper and it talks about this news article talks about that industrial growth has hit a 23-month high of 7.3% in June 2026, which means compared to last June 2026 it has witnessed a 23 months high. So month on month this index is actually released after every month. Therefore, a month on month high as compared to May 2026, we have witnessed 7.3% growth this month. This index is actually highlighting the broad-based recovery of the industry of India, that how much industry is growing, which means it is mainly focusing on manufacturing, electricity, capital goods and consumer demand. Now understand that at this point of time जब हमें समझ में आ रहा है कि इंडस्ट्री ग्रो कर रही है, यहीं पे हमें इस बात का भी ध्यान देना है, being the students of economy, that there are two most important factors which Indian economy is going to face. First is the monsoon and second is the external geopolitical crisis, which usually economists call as external shocks to the economy, where economy is not actually, I would say, influenced or where economy is not threatened by the domestic factors but by the external factors. Say monsoon and the global instability due to West Asian crisis, due to Russian crisis or Russia-Ukraine crisis, due to US-Iran crisis. These two instabilities in Indian economy may change this course of action in the future time to come. Now, what is index of industrial production? It basically measures the changes in the volume of production. Remember the term volume of production, that how much production has increased month on month. It is compiled and released by Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, NSO. The base year for index of industrial production was 2011-12, which has been changed to 22-23, similar to what has been adopted in index of core industries. Now remember one more thing, that this covers mining, manufacturing and electricity. Understood? Clear? It is released by NSO, Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, base year, and it is released monthly. Understood? Now, what are the key highlights of this month's index of industrial production? First, the growth is 7.3%. The growth is largely driven by the capital goods. This is the most important factor which we must remember. Rest of the data we can leave aside because it changes on month of the month. The main factor is that which sector is leading the growth, that is capital goods. Now what are these capital goods? Very simple. If the capital sector or if the capital goods are having the highest performance, why? What are the drivers of industrial growth? I said strong manufacturing. अगर manufacturing sector हमारा grow करता है, capital goods में surge आता है, this reflects that Indian economy में investment बढ़ रहा है, which means now economy or I would say investors, firms are more interested in buying large capital, in investing in capital, heavy machinery, automation, artificial intelligence, new age technologies are more referred, are more invested into. Rising consumer demand and policy and infrastructure push, these are some of the other sectors where the growth is driven, or where the 7.3% growth is actually calculating from. This is the growth trajectory from July 2024 to June 2026, and this is the all-time high of 23 months. Clear? Major sectors, manufacturing, which has 77% weightage in the index. Clear? Then mining and electricity. These are the three sectors which once we compile the index of industrial production, these three sectors are given weightage, and the highest weightage is given to manufacturing sector. Remember this? Chalo. Next, what does the IIP measure actually? It measures the volume of production. Remember the key terms, volume of production, not the value of production. Examiner may confuse you with the volume and value. It actually mentions or measures short-term changes month on month. Industrial performance, that which industry is performing better and which is going worse, economic indicator, and it actually signals us the industrial trends. Clear? How IIP is compiled? The data is selected from different sources, and then the production is also measured, that how much production has increased this month, and we are particularly using one simple formula, that is Laspeyres formula. Ye yaad rakhna hai, that which formula is actually being used in IIP, that is Laspeyres formula of calculation, assigning the weights to different parameters. We use Alkire-Foster method in developmental aspects, and we use quantitative measures ke liye Laspeyres index. Understood? Why did the industrial growth actually rise? Main focus, strong manufacturing sector, and second most, electricity. Highest in 25 months. Two major factors, one manufacturing and another electricity. These two things we already discussed at length. Now, what is the reason behind capital goods? Why capital goods, or why capital industry is actually increasing, or why is it happening that more investment is going towards capital goods? See, there has been investment in AI based data centers. There has been investment increasing towards adopting and developing India's own LLMs, towards developing India's own AI models. SWAYAM is one such example, and multiple other examples where we are now focusing on more towards developing the capital goods, in investing into capital goods, so that the future growth or the future stream of income can be generated. That is what the main reason is, because the consumer demand in itself is limited to some extent. But yes, the new age technologies require more and heavy investment into capital, and when the growth is driven by high investment into capital, the labor part of it may be compromised. And this may again lead towards the jobless growth phenomena which Indian economy has been facing since independence. That is a question which we all should be curious about to know the answer. Understood till now? These are some of the, I would say, sub-sectors which are used across different countries when they measure the index of industrial production. Usually USA में ये चीज़ follow की जाती है, primary goods, capital goods, या UAE में follow की जाती है. Different areas में different classifications होती है index of industrial production की. So that is what was discussed in the article. Not that much to be understood from this, but yes, how does it signal a positive growth when our capital goods are increasing? This means that the broad-based industry is actually going for recovery. Manufacturing, electricity, consumer goods and capital goods, all of them are going towards recovery. Strong domestic demand will be there, and investment momentum will also lead to more growth. However, there are some risks which are attached to it, which I already discussed in the beginning of this video. That first, we have the external shock of West Asian crisis, and second, the internal shock, or I would say geographical shock of monsoon, that we have delayed monsoon and West Asian conflict. The one more aspect is inflationary pressures, which we discussed in the earlier video about inflation, that why Indian economy is facing higher inflation, or despite of facing higher inflation, why Indian, I would say, monetary policy or monetary policy committee has continuously stuck to one thing, that we will not change the policy rate or we will not decrease the policy rate because there is high inflation in multiple sectors of economy. And at the end, there is global economic uncertainty, that where we are actually witnessing a growth in the prices of, or I would say, inflating prices of bullion and stock both. So that is one such thing where the economists are apprehensive about. With this, we conclude this video. You should, being a student and being a curious student and being a serious student, you should also compare the index of industrial production with index of core industries. This index of core industries, I have discussed it already at length in a 15-minute video on the same channel. So therefore, this index of core industries was released I think last week, and last week we had a video on this. This is released by Office of Economic Advisor, DPIIT, and the base year of ICI has also been changed. So that is why we covered that in our last video. With this, we will stop over here. You can do one thing as a favor on yourself, not on me, that is attempt these two mains questions. They have been formed on index of industrial production only, and UPSC already has asked a question in mains from this topic. So therefore, if you attempt these two questions, what you need to do is, you can share these questions with me either here, or you can join these WhatsApp and Telegram groups, and you will get yourself a good, I would say, guidance for your UPSC preparation. I thank you all for being here. I wish you all the best. Jai Hind.